Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Double A Team. I'm Ken Fang here with you. Stephen Nagishi, not available to go on. He is working late, so I'm going on solo. Today, we're going to be talking about the new NBA media deals announced with Disney, Comcast, and Amazon. They were announced formally today, this after the NBA rejected a uh, match proposal by Warner Brothers Discovery, and we'll get into all that coming up. We'll go into the deals with ESPN, NBC, and Amazon. It's an 11-year deal with all of them. They also include WNBA rights, and the main thing is that streaming on Disney Plus, Peacock, and Amazon is important to the NBA. The reach here and plus global rights that all three networks will have, all three parties are going to have, is just very important, and that's a huge deal to the NBA. And so we'll get into all that. It's not going to be a long podcast. It's just we're going to go into a few things, plus a couple of other stories that are sports media uh, pertain to sports media. As you're aware, I also work for Awful Announcing, where I do my most of my work here. So really appreciate that you've joined me here, and we're gonna, like I said, going to talk mostly about the NBA. I prepared a nice slideshow for you for this, so let's take a look at this. I'm going to show this to you right now. So the new NBA media deals, as I'm going to hide that banner. Okay, so let's go over them. First, ESPN and Disney. ESPN is going to be paying $2.6 billion annually. The main thing here is that ESPN on Disney did not want to pay above what it's paying the NFL, which is $2.7 billion for Monday Night Football and two Super Bowls in the span of an 11-year contract. This is also an 11-year contract. So interestingly enough, the main thing that ESPN wanted was to keep the NBA Finals exclusively. They had a handshake deal before they went into what was their exclusive negotiating period that they had with the NBA. But the one thing they didn't have was the NBA Finals. NBC was hoping to swoop in and get at least half of them. They did not. So ESPN is going to keep the finals exclusively for the life of the contract for 11 years. They will have 10 conference finals, so there'll be 1 year in which they won't have the conference finals. They will include Saturday night games on ABC, Sunday afternoon games, Wednesday night games, and select Friday night games on ESPN. They also have some tentpole events, including the NBA draft, the NBA draft lottery. Of course, this includes WNBA games. They'll have the WNBA draft and WNBA draft lottery, which has had increased ratings thanks to Caitlin Clark this season. Also, WNBA games, including 5 finals and 8 semifinal series. And also an important thing for Disney, they also gave up some regular season games so they can have international rights on Disney. So that's a very important thing. So let's continue to talk about ESPN here for a second before we continue to go on with the slideshow. The fact is that the NBA has been extremely important for for ESPN. It's 6 months of programming. It basically goes from October all the way through June. So very important to keep that. In addition, they'll also have all the Christmas Day games. I forgot to include that in the slide, but they'll have all 5 of those Christmas Day games. In addition to that, as I can get the press release here that was from ESPN, I have it here as well. In addition to that, Jimmy Pitaro, the chairman of ESPN, says as the media landscape continues to evolve, this forward-thinking agreement represents a significant and bold step in our mission to serve sports fans anytime, anywhere, including opportunities to successfully navigate the global digital transition through a premium collection of regular and postseason game rights, culminating with the NBA Finals and WNBA Finals, plus studio and original content initiatives. We look forward to building upon our legacy of innovation with the NBA and continuing to play an important role in the extraordinary growth trajectory of the WNBA. Now, one thing here that's important that includes in this package As I mentioned, all 5 of the Christmas Day games will be on ESPN or ABC. They also have a new studio show, and that's going to be kind of like a whip around program. So they'll have live action from around the league with real time highlights and live cut ins. In addition to whip around coverage of the night's games, the show will include segments focused on different aspects of basketball, including culture and fashion, player arrivals. I hope that doesn't mean Stephen A. Smith in a suit. Produced features and breakdowns from ESPN's leading analysts. ESPN will continue to air its NBA Countdown pregame show and its weekday studio show. That's the NBA Today. So those are all going to be part of the new 11-year contract that will begin in the 25-26 season. Now let's go to Comcast NBC. They're going to pay $2.5 billion annually. NBC will carry the All-Star Weekend exclusively for the life of the contract. So what used to be on TNT will now be on NBC. And also you have to consider that since NBC won't have the finals in this contract, they had to get something. So getting the All-Star Weekend for the entire life of the contract is pretty big for them. They'll also have 6 conference finals. They'll alternate those with Amazon, excluding 1 year when ESPN won't have it. And then both NBC and Amazon will carry them the conference finals together. They'll have 100 national games on NBC and Peacock, and then 50 exclusive Peacock games. So basically 150 games altogether. That's a lot. They'll have Sunday night NBA after the NBA playoffs. In addition, they'll have a Tuesday night doubleheader. This is interesting. They'll have one exclusive game for the Eastern and Central time zones. Then they'll go to the late night news, and then they'll have another game exclusively for the Mountain time zone and Pacific time zones. So if, let's say, you're going to get the Celtics and Knicks in the Eastern time zone, you may get the Suns and Lakers in the West. But if you want to see both, Peacock will have both games. So this, in a sense, you won't miss any. If you have Peacock, you'll be able to see both games. If you don't have Peacock, you'll get one game in the appropriate time zone where you live. They'll also get 3 NBA finals and 7 WNBA semifinals. They have the rights to USA men's and women's games, USA basketball. If you remember, if you were watching the pre-Olympic basketball exhibition games, they were on FS1, interestingly enough. So this way, NBC will now have those games that'll lead into the Olympics. So that's kind of a good thing for them. They'll also have one other important thing, Round Ball Rock. That'll be coming back. And you'll see games on Telemundo. And all of the NBC games will be available in the United Kingdom on Sky Sports. So a big thing here that NBC is back in the NBA. They weren't able to get the finals because ESPN was able to muscle them out of it. But the fact is that the big thing here is that the fact that the NBA gets 2 nights on network television. NBC has had the reach that TNT. This is basically the TNT package without the network television, over-the-air television aspect of it. I don't know if you heard me cough. If you did, I apologize. The whole thing here is that it just outdoes the reach that TNT could do. This was the TNT package that, in essence, Warner Brothers Discovery did not want to pay for. They were $2 million apart. I think they wanted to bid $2.3 or $2.2 billion. NBC came in and was able, with their reach and with their streaming services and streaming platforms, and of course having Telemundo and Sky Sports in the UK, that was something that the NBA just couldn't turn down. So $2.5 billion and 2 nights in prime time. And the fact they were able to finagle it so that the one game exclusively for the eastern half of the country, one exclusive game for the western half of the country. Now, how are they going to work that if, let's say, the Celtics take on the Lakers in Los Angeles? How's that going to work? I'm not sure. Maybe the fact that perhaps that NBC Boston might be able to carry the doubleheader. I'm not sure, but I'm sure that those are details that have to be worked out. But the fact is that NBC is back into the NBA after losing it to ESPN in 2002. They're back. You're going to hear the Round Ball Rock theme, made famous during the NBC and NBC's heyday in the 1990s. I would think you're going to see Mike Tirico and Noah Eagle as your main announcers on this. The fact is that Dwayne Wade is being used on the Olympics, probably means that he is auditioning as an analyst for NBC. And of course, Zora Stevenson, who was doing a great job on the Big Ten women's games with Caitlin Clark on Peacock. I'm sure that she might be considered as a voice for the WNBA games, along with Noah Eagle as well. So that's interesting there. Now, the third package is, of course, going to Amazon, which is the streaming element, $1.3 billion annually, according to Andrew Marchand of The Athletic. 6 conference finals alternating with NBC. So you're thinking, hey, wait a minute, they have 6. NBC has 6. Doesn't that amount to 12? Well, yes, it does. But ESPN will not carry one conference final during the life of the 11-year contract. So both networks will get 6. 20 playoff games altogether, 66 regular season games, mostly on Friday nights, select Saturday afternoons, and then a Thursday night doubleheader after Thursday night football is over. They get the rights to the in-season tournament, which will be known as the NBA Cup. They'll also take over the distribution of NBA League Pass and extensive international rights, except in China, parts of Europe. They won't have Canada in the first year of the contract, but they take over the Canadian rights in the 26-27 season. They'll have a package of 30 WNBA regular season games, the Commissioner's Cup final, 7 semifinal series, and 3 WNBA finals. So that's a pretty big deal. One other thing we should mention about the WNBA is that the NBA does reserve the right, in addition to having NBC, ESPN, and Amazon as partners for the WNBA. They did say in their statement that they do have the right to add a couple of more media partners. CBS and ION have also been carrying games for the WNBA. Expect them to renew for the 25-26 season. Actually, the 26th season. Yeah, so that's when they would come on board, and it's a pretty big deal. Now, why did this come about? Why was this announced today? Well, it was basically because the NBA decided to turn down the proposal by Warner Brothers Discovery. Yesterday, they made an announcement, Warner Brothers Discovery, that they were going to exercise a right in their contract to match, and they decided to do that with Amazon's contract. However, seeing that it's all streaming, and the fact is that there's no television element on it, no local television element on it, the NBA decided that, this is not going to work for us. The statement says Warner Brothers Discovery most recent proposal did not match the terms of Amazon Prime Video's offer, and therefore we have entered into a long-term arrangement with Amazon. Throughout these negotiations, our primary objective has been to maximize the reach and accessibilities of our games for our fans. Our new arrangement with Amazon supports this goal by complementing the broadcast, cable, and streaming packages that are already part of our new Disney and NBC Universal arrangements. All 3 partners have also committed substantial resources to promote the league and enhance the fan experience. Now, here's the terse statement. We are grateful to Turner Sports for its award-winning coverage of the NBA and look forward to another season of the NBA on TNT. So it means that TNT goes into a lame duck season, and we've seen this before happen with other rights holders. We've seen it happen with NBC on the NBA. We've seen it with the NBC of the NFL, ABC with the rights to Monday Night Football. So, yeah, it happens. And this is a relationship that TNT has had and Turner Sports have had that goes back to 1984, before TNT actually started back in 1989. Ted Turner signed the rights, taking the cable rights away from ESPN and USA in 1984. He put the games on TBS. Then he created TNT, Turner Network Television, in 1989. That's where the games have been ever since. There were a few years when TBS also carried games. That was before ESPN came back to the league in 2002. So now we have a situation where, and that Turner Sports is going to go into a lame duck season. Charles Barkley has been joking about it throughout this past season. It now seems to come to fruition. I don't know if you saw it earlier today, but Warner Brothers Discovery's social media platforms like the NBA on TV on TNT, Bleacher Report, and the House of Highlights all tried to have this social media campaign to try to tug on the heartstrings of people and nostalgia of showing how important the NBA on TNT has been to the network. But it was too little too late. And it really goes back to the days when a couple of years ago, when Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav said that we really don't need the NBA to survive and do well. And when you say things like that, especially in a year, in a couple of seasons heading into before you're going to negotiate a new contract, that doesn't go over well. And the fact is also Warner Brothers Discovery had gotten rid of a lot of old guard Turner Sports executives who had great relationships with the NBA. And Charles Barkley had mentioned over the past season in interviews that he had made that Turner would always make sure that they would renew before their exclusive negotiating period was over, and they didn't do that this season. And of course, the NBA, which has not been happy with over the fact that David Zaslav's statements didn't go over well with Adam Silver, and also the fact that all of these former Turner executives are all over the place, one of them including Mark Lazarus, who's at NBC, that has pretty much laid the death knell for Turner Sports. Now, we also have this statement from Warner Brothers Discovery saying, we have matched the Amazon offer as we have a contractual right to do so. And we do not believe the NBA can reject it. In doing so, they are rejecting the many fans who continue to show their unwavering support for our best-in-class coverage, delivered through the full combined reach of WBD's video-first distribution platforms, including TNT, home to our 4-decade partnership with the league, and Max, our leading streaming service. We think they have grossly misinterpreted our contractual rights with respect to the 2025-26 season and beyond, and we will take appropriate action, most likely meaning legal action or threatening to take legal action. We look forward, however, to another great season of the NBA on TNT and Max, including our iconic Inside the NBA. So, what does this mean? It means that it's looking like, and I hope you like those slides. I make those in less than an hour. I hope you enjoyed them. The fact is that Turner Sports and Warner Brothers Discovery, and Charles Barkley has mentioned this before, that the fact that they've gone through several mergers, whether it was AOL Discovery, AT&T, and now Warner Brothers Discovery, and people, good people have fallen by the wayside, whether executives, producers, camera people, editors, all going in, and all part, and hosts and reporters and analysts, all have been part of the NBA and TNT over the last 40 years. People have been gone over the last 10 years due to all these corporate mergers and corporate moves. And the fact is that when you lose some of your executives who have had great relationships, and the whole thing is about sports media and sports properties are the relationships. And that's why you see networks like ESPN and CBS managing to keep their sports properties and add to them, because they establish good relationships between the executives of their networks with the executives of their respective sports leagues. And when you lose the people who have the great relationships, it leaves you at it puts you at a disadvantage. So that's not very helpful to, and that's one of the reasons why the NBA has decided to go elsewhere. They have a great relationship with ESPN and Chairman Jimmy Pitaro. He's done a great job in mending fences, especially with the National Football League, when it looked like there was a time when the NFL may have wanted to end the relationship with ESPN. He mended that relationship and managed to get 2 Super Bowls with them. Also, as I mentioned, NBC had brought in Mark Lazarus, who was a president of Turner Sports. He once led NBC Sports. He's now in the executive. He's in corporate as part of NBC, but I'm sure he was part of that, helping to negotiate a new contract for NBC and the NBA. And Amazon, which has been building its sports portfolio very quickly over the last 5 years, from the NFL to NASCAR to the WNBA to tennis and the ATP Tour in Europe and the English Premier League, and also now they're going to carry the NHL in Canada. This is an entity and a company that is going to be very aggressive in sports for many years to come. So don't think that they're not. This is the last of it for them. An ironic note here too, and before we end this, before I end the this part of the segment, I wanted to give you this thing here, and that's quite interesting here. Andrew Marchand of The Athletic wrote that he is told that TNT initiated the idea of bringing Amazon into the NBA negotiations, and if that's the case, that's kind of ironic that happened. So that's pretty harsh. So, and the fact is, you bring them in, and then you lose a package to them, and you're out. That's not a good thing. So it's pretty harsh to see. And as I mentioned, as you can see there, TNT. This is the end of this. We're going to continue to. I'm sure there's going to be some type of litigation, or at least threats of litigation, unless NBA finally, if let's say the NBA carves a package, a small package to TNT, maybe that's what David Zaslav is hoping for. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, so it's a pretty big day for sports media here, for those of us covering it, and for those of us at Awful Announcing. Wanted to mention too, before we go, Olympics have begun on the NBC Universal platforms. Soccer and rugby were seen earlier today on both USA, Telemundo, and Universo, and Peacock, of course. And interestingly enough, Argentina and Morocco had a controversial end. USA showed that game, and it looked like the game was going to be tied 2-2, as there was 15 minutes of stoppage time for some reason. We still don't know why. Argentina looked like they scored. It would look like it was a 2-2, and it was going to end that way. But then some Moroccan fans charged the field. The game was suspended, and then 90 minutes later, there was a VAR check to find that the goal was going to be nullified because of offside. So they had to call not everybody, but the teams back to the field in an empty stadium. And they ended it eventually. A couple minutes were played to finish the game, and Morocco won 2-1. So that's an interesting thing that happened. There's always controversy in the Olympics. That's one of them there. So if you saw that on USA Today, it was a very interesting thing to see. They were all over it. And of course, the Olympics beginning today, formally, in what's called day -2. They'll have another day of action, and then the opening ceremony, which will be seen on Friday. I will have all the schedules for you on Awful Announcing, the daily viewing picks. Right now, I have them all the way through Saturday, all done. I'm doing Sundays as of tonight, so I'll let you know. One other Olympic note: the 2034 Winter Olympics were awarded to Salt Lake City today in Paris. That will be the second U.S.-based Olympics in 6 years. Of course, that will be following the Summer Olympics in 2028 in Los Angeles. NBC will carry those games. The 2034 Olympics are after NBC's current contracts with the Olympic ends, which is in 2032. Now, the last few contracts have been renewed without going to open bidding. NBC and the International Olympic Committee have just renewed them to say, hey, we're going to do this and renew our contracts. The last time the International Olympic Committee went to open bidding with the American networks was, I think, around 2011, 2010. We'll see what happens there. But NBC, I'm sure, will want to try and say, "Hey, look, let's not go to the open market. You know our relationship. We know what we can do for the Olympics. Let's just extend our contract for another couple of cycles, and we'll see if that goes to 2040, if that's the case." But the Winter Olympics awarded to Salt Lake City, NBC, I'm sure, would love to have those. Any network loves to have home games based out of the United States. So that would be great for any network that bids on it. But we'll see if the International Olympic Committee just decides to renew it NBC or take it to open bidding. And finally, the National Football League is negotiating to expand to an 18-week regular season. Oh, I missed. I did not spell that correctly. So it's an 18-week regular season. You get the gist. They're not making formal negotiations with the Players Association, but that's something that has been discussed. Even Joe Burrow discussed it earlier this season. He said, as long as we have a 2 weeks of buys, and that would be something that would be amenable to the Players Association. He was not speaking for the Players Association. I'm sure he's heard from the union. But yeah, that's something that I would expect that to be happening maybe in the next couple of years. Not yet, not this season. Of course, it's too late for this season, and probably not next season. But if that happens, expect the NFL to reopen its media deal in 2029, as it has an out in its contract to do so, and then be able to renegotiate those rights. The collective bargaining agreement with the NFL Players Association ends around that time, but I think that the NFL would like to do this ahead of that, get that done, reopen the NFL media rights, and then get more money, and also perhaps sign another media partner as well. And also, one other note that we reported at Awful Announcing is that Netflix, which has the rights to 2 Christmas Day games this season for the NFL, is looking to partner with one of the current NFL partners, maybe CBS, to produce its games. It's also being a little bit slow in trying to sell advertising, because Christmas Day is usually that all the Christmas Day sales are done. So trying to get advertising a little bit slow on that run. But we'll see. None of the NFL partners are really running to try and help a potential rival down the line for a new media deal. So NBC, which is already helping Amazon, said no. ESPN has its plate full with Christmas Day that day, so I don't think they would want to help. And Fox is on its own entity and already be helping the NFL Network so produce its games. So that leaves CBS, and we'll see if that comes to fruition. But anyway, that is it for this edition of the Double A Team. I like to thank you for coming in and joining me. It's a special edition because I wanted to talk about the NBA deals, and also wanted to talk about some other stuff as well. Thank you very much for watching, all the people who came in, the 106 of you. Don't forget, we are live stream. Stephen and I try to do this every week, and you'll see it here on X and on YouTube. In the meantime, thank you for watching. I was hoping to get a guest this week. Looks like that's not going to happen. I'm going to try and see if I can get one next week as Stephen continues his work on late night. But in the meantime, I'm Ken Fang from Awful Announcing. Thank you for watching this edition of the Double A Team, talking about the NBA media deals. I hope you enjoyed the slides. In the meantime, I will see you sometime soon. Have a great week in sport, and good night.